Joining us now on the telephone, author of a new book, fascinating book about really one of the great athletes of all time. Not too much really known about her until Don Van Natta wrote this book. It's called Wonder Girl, The Magnificent Sporting Life of Babe Didrikson's Harrius. And Don Van Natta joins us by telephone today. Don, thanks for being with us. I know you're over on the other side of the state, but it's good to talk to you today.
Thank you, Doug. It's great to be with you.
Enjoyed reading through the book up in Tampa, of course. I know you're going to be doing, is it a reading or an appearance? There's a golf course named after the Babe, which I did not know until I read your book she originally owned. I thought they just named it after her, but she owned it at one time, didn't she?
That's right. She and her husband, George Harrius, bought the golf course in the early 50s and owned it for a couple of years and turned a very nice profit on it. I think they made about 500% of their money in just several years, so it was a great investment for Babe and her husband.
Yeah, not too bad. And well, we'll talk a little bit about how did you come up with the topic of writing about her. There hasn't been a lot written about her, and she really didn't do too many interviews, I guess, over the years, did she?
Well, I decided to do it because I really concluded that Babe is the great forgotten American sports superstar. In Sports Illustrated's top 10 athletes of the 20th century, there is only one woman, and that's Babe Didrikson, right up there with Thorpe, Ruth, Mays, Ali, and Jordan. And many people of my generation and the younger generation really don't even know her name or know very much about her. So my hope with the book was to really bring her great inspirational story to a new generation or two of readers.
She went on, of course, to be a great golfer, which we just talked about the golf course, but she started out really playing basketball, kind of, I don't know what the term was, is it corporate basketball? I mean, it's professional, sort of. I guess different businesses used to have teams, right?
That's right, and she played semi-professional basketball in Texas, which was actually a really big, popular sport at the time, women's basketball in the early 30s. She played for a company called Employers Casualty Insurance Company out of Dallas, and she was hired basically because she was a dynamite basketball player in her hometown of Beaumont, and she became an All-American. They won the AAU title, Employers Casualty did, with Babe in a starring role, and that's how her great all-sport career started on the basketball court.
You talk about in the book her growing up as a kid. She was a great athlete as a child. I mean, I think she sort of had a feeling in her own mind that she was going to be a good athlete, didn't she, at a very young age, right?
She did, Doug. What I love about Babe is before she even got into her teens, she vowed that she was going to be the greatest athlete that ever lived. Now, she didn't say the greatest woman athlete. She said the greatest athlete. And she had so much confidence as a kid. She got bored very quickly on the sandlots of Beaumont, Texas, playing against the girls. She figured out pretty quickly that she could beat them at just about any game, and she started playing with the boys. She even tried to play football for the Beaumont High School football team, and was not allowed to do that. So at a very young age, she was highly competitive, very, very confident, and set out to conquer as many games and sports as she could.
Yeah, and at times kind of cocky and did a little early trash talk, didn't she?
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. She was a big-time trash talker, got in people's faces. When she was on the Olympic track and field team, the women's Olympic track and field team that competed at the Olympic Games in 1932, when she stepped off the train in Los Angeles for those games, she declared to the press that was assembled there that she was going to beat everybody in sight. Well, the only people in sight at that moment were her teammates on the track and field team. She knew that if she was going to win a gold medal, she'd have to beat her teammates, and the entire train ride from Chicago to L.A., she talked trash to her teammates. Said, I'm the greatest that ever lived, and long before Muhammad Ali ever said it, and then she went out and proved it.
Kind of a shame in a sense there was no television back for most of her career. I guess a little bit when she played golf, although not a lot, but I guess she would have gotten a lot more press if there was television back then, right? People would remember her more now.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that part of the reason why she's not getting greater respect now and more in the memories of American sports fans is partly because of the advent of television came after she passed away in 1956. But I also think it's just because she was a woman, and I think that the fact she was a woman and doing all of these incredible things in the 30s and 40s and 50s when Americans were not nearly as focused on women's sports as they are today, it was discounted, I think, by the press at the time. In fact, she had a horrible time with the press in the 30s. They questioned her gender, they questioned whether she was a lesbian, they called her an it. She got a lot of bad press, despite all these incredible accomplishments on the playing field.
So you talk about that a little bit in the book. Of course, female athletes have had to kind of deal with that issue even up to today. I mean, that's kind of the nature of it. But she never really addressed that, did she, on her own?
No, she didn't. In fact, the way she dealt with it is she tried to change her image. She got married to George Zaharias, a professional wrestler, a very popular professional wrestler in 1938. And in the late 30s and through World War II and into the 40s, she softened her image, took a lot of the edges off of her personal style, put on makeup, dressed nicer, became sort of the typical American housewife. At least that's how she portrayed herself to the press, in an attempt, I think, to cultivate not only the media but golf fans. This was as she was becoming a full-time golfer, and she knew if she was going to be accepted in that very wealthy world, she would need to change that hardened image that she had growing up in Beaumont.
You spent a lot of time in the book talking about her golf career, but that almost was by accident that she took up the game. You talk about her hurting her arm in a javelin throw, right? And that kind of kept her out of doing some other sports, right? So she took up golf. That's
exactly right. She actually was thinking about playing tennis, and she gave tennis actually 2 tries. But her injury, the first time, kept her from doing it. The second time, she had problems with her amateur status. So she really was an accidental golfer, and she said in the 30s that of all of the games she tried, and she conquered every single one she attempted, golf gave her the most trouble. But she worked at it so hard, practiced for hours and hours every single day until her hands were bloodied and blistered from taking so many swings. And very quickly, she became one of the top golfers in the country.
They won a bunch of tournaments. It's kind of odd now, Don. I don't know if you agree with this or not, that the LPGA doesn't seem to honor her more. Her name doesn't really come up when they go over the list of the greatest women golfers. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't seem to hear her name brought up that much when they talk about the history of women's golf.
Doug, they do mention her name, but I don't think they give her nearly the credit that she deserves. The LPGA Tour was created in large part to showcase Babe's great talent. It really was a tour made for her. In 1950, she was one of the co-founders, but the promoters there really wanted a place where galleries could come out and buy tickets and watch Babe do the amazing things she did on the golf course. She won 14 tournaments in a row. No man or woman has ever won that many tournaments in a row, which is just an incredible accomplishment. And she was the first American woman to win the British Women's Amateur in 1947. So her accomplishments on the golf course are really incredible.
And of course, the tragic end is that her life cut short by cancer, but you deal with how she handled that. She seemed to handle it with a lot of class. In the book, you talk about that, but really her life was cut short very young.
It was. When she got her cancer diagnosis in 1953, unlike a lot of other public figures at the time who kept their cancer a secret, Babe Ruth, for instance, nobody knew he had cancer until after he passed away in 1947. Babe went public with it in a very big way and raised money for cancer research. And she vowed, her doctors told her after that diagnosis and after she had a colostomy that she would never play professional golf again. And just 4 days after that diagnosis, she vowed she would play again and win again. And that's exactly what she did. Just 15 months after the colostomy, she won the U.S. Women's Open by 12 strokes. Wow. It's just an amazing comeback.
Yeah, a difficult, obvious thing you have to deal with health-wise, but she had people around her that would help her, and it is amazing that you can think of winning a golf tournament and having to deal with that, particularly with the technology back then. It wasn't as good, medically speaking.
That's right. She just had so much will to win and so much will and desire to live, and really fought hard against the cancer. She finally succumbed to it in 1956, in September of 1956 at the age of 45, but not before winning a number of golf tournaments and inspiring many, many people.
Well, it's a great book. Tells the story of, really, like you said, not only the greatest woman athlete, perhaps one of the greatest athletes of all time. And Don, I think you're doing a reading over in the Tampa Bay area. Is that right, coming up?
Yes, I am. On a week from this Friday, at the Barnes & Noble in Tampa store at 7 o'clock that evening on Friday night. I believe it's the 24th.
24th, right. Okay.
Yes, I'll be doing a reading there, and then I'll also be appearing that weekend in Tampa. There is a series of concerts and a big event occurring on that Saturday, the 25th, to honor Babe Zaharias on the 100th anniversary of her birthday, which is coming up on June 26th.
That's right.
Of this month. Yeah, so I'll be in Tampa that weekend for a number of events. So I'm looking forward to them.
Great, Don. Appreciate you taking a few minutes. Again, it's called Wonder Girl, and they can get the book. You have a website. You want to tell people to get the book, or talk to you, or contact?
Well, they can if they'd like to email me, they can email me at vannatta@nytimes.com, VANNATTA. But the book is available on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and it's available obviously, for iPads and the Kindle and the Nook and electronically as well. So any which way you want to read it, you can get it.
That's right. It's changed the whole life of the authors now, isn't it? The electronic.
That's right. Yeah, but fewer hardcovers sell these days. A lot of people are reading books electronically, and, but the publishers make it very easy for folks to get books that way.
Great, Don. Appreciate you taking a few minutes, and look forward to talking to you again when you have your next book come out. But thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Doug. I enjoyed it very much. Appreciate it.